Did you know that at the height of the Roman Empire, a simple soldier covered in dirt and blood could become one of the most powerful men in Rome? It seems impossible, right? But in a world where discipline was law and bravery was the only currency, ordinary legionaries defied all odds and rose to the highest ranks of command. Most of us picture a Roman commander as someone born with a silver spoon in their mouth, trained from a young age to lead armies. But what if I told you that some of the brightest minds on the battlefield began their journey not in palaces, but in the fields, carrying shields and marching under the weight of worn-out armor? These men weren't just soldiers. They were potential visionaries who, armed with courage and determination, proved that destiny wasn't reserved for the nobles alone. What drove them? Hunger, hope, or perhaps the desire to leave a mark on history? Imagine what it would be like to be in their shoes, fighting to turn sweat and blood into an eternal legacy. How did these legionaries earn the trust of their commanders? What challenges did they have to overcome to stand out in the chaos of battle? And most intriguingly, what happened when their ambitions collided with the intrigues and betrayals of Rome? Today, you'll discover the stories of men who defied the impossible to achieve glory. The rise of these soldiers didn't just shape the fate of battles. It also transformed the very structure of Roman power. If they had failed, Rome might never have reached the height of its greatness. And that's exactly what we're going to explore in this video: the secrets behind a legionary's journey to leadership. In today's video, we'll explore how simple legionaries endured brutal training, stood out in epic battles, and faced the challenges of leadership. You'll see how courage on the battlefield turned into brilliant strategies, and discover how some of them defied the political intrigue of Rome to reach the top. And of course, we'll reveal a historical mystery: what happened to one of the most promising commanders, whose rise was interrupted in a mysterious way. If you love stories from the Roman Empire and want to uncover the mysteries and lessons that made this period one of the most fascinating in history, subscribe to the channel now. Here, you'll find daily videos filled with curiosities and strategies that change the world. And don't forget to leave a like. It's essential for helping other history enthusiasts discover this content. Plus, it helps keep the daily production of videos like this one going. Let's explore the glories and secrets of Rome like never before. The Roman Empire was sustained by its legions, and each soldier, no matter how common, carried the weight of a vital cog in the military machine. Recruiting men for the legions wasn't just a matter of brute strength. It was also a matter of imperial strategy. Young men were drawn by promises of citizenship, economic stability, and a chance to escape overwhelming poverty. But these promises came with a high price. Recruitment was only the beginning of a difficult path, filled with physical and psychological trials that transformed any aspiring soldier into a resilient war machine. Brutal training shaped both bodies and minds, and the fear of failing before superiors or being dishonored was ever present. Among the new recruits, compelling stories stand out. Many were farmers, escaping lives of hard labor in the fields, while others sought redemption or a greater purpose on their journeys. A striking example is Publius Tertius, a young man of humble origins who saw the army as his only chance to free his family from servitude. Despite his calloused hands from years of farm work, he showed exceptional determination and resilience, overcoming initial challenges. Amid endless marches and exhausting drills, these young men formed unbreakable bonds with their comrades, sharing both the weight of their armor and the burden of dreams of greatness. Life in the camps reflected the harsh conditions of the time. Comfort was rare, and challenges immense. The tents shared by legionaries fostered camaraderie, but also tested the limits of patience in adverse conditions. The scent of thin soups and the constant sound of sword sharpening created an environment where every small detail mattered. Still, it was in these moments of hardship that the legionaries found strength in each other. Nights were filled with stories and laughter, a rare relief amidst the tension of potential battles. This tough but enriching daily life prepared the soldiers for what awaited them on the battlefield. The fear of the unknown was ever present, Each legionary knew an uncertain future awaited them, and few would have the chance to stand out. Still, there was a thread of hope. Some believed that bravery and loyalty could offer opportunities for advancement. Many young men saw centurions not only as figures of authority, but as living proof that the impossible could be achieved. Those who stood out in the exhausting routine or early battles had their names whispered among their comrades as future leaders. These seeds of hope paved the way for heroic deeds, which were the true tests of fire. Battle was the stage where legionaries either became legends or faded into obscurity. For many, it was a unique opportunity to prove their worth, and every move on the field was a chance to earn the trust of their superiors. Stories of bravery emerged like flames amid the chaos of war. Marcus Valerius, a young legionary, saved his unit by leading a trapped group out of an ambush with an improvised strategy that confused the Germanic enemies. His action not only ensured the survival of dozens of men, but also put him under the watchful eyes of higher-ranking officers. These moments of distinction often required courage beyond imagination. Battles were wild and unforgiving, and the line between life and death was thin. The legionaries who survived were marked not only by physical scars, but also by the strategic experience they had gained. More than strength, it was intelligence in combat that separated the common from the exceptional. Those who demonstrated natural leadership were often entrusted with more critical tasks, such as leading formations or coordinating small detachments in hostile terrain. Recognition came not only from acts of bravery, but also from the ability to maintain discipline and inspire confidence amid the chaos. Being promoted to decurion or centurion was a sign that the legionary had not only survived, but had also distinguished themselves as a natural leader. However, with this recognition came even greater responsibilities. A centurion was more than a commander. They were a role model, someone who embodied the values of a legion and carried the fate of their men on their shoulders. This transition from the front lines to a leadership role was in itself a battle. It was not uncommon for legionaries to face resistance from their own comrades, who might question the authority of someone who had recently shared the same tent. But those who could win this trust, balancing strength with empathy, often found themselves on paths to even higher command. These emerging leaders were the beating heart of the legions, and without them, the Roman war machine would lose its effectiveness. And it was this combination of individual courage and strategic skill that often laid the groundwork for further transformation. When a legionary reached a leadership position, they carried the marks of the battlefield, but they also had to learn to look beyond the immediate fight. The challenges shifted from mere survival to a fight for the survival of the collective, creating space for new aspirations and new dilemmas that came with power. Becoming a centurion was, for many legionaries, an immense achievement, but also the beginning of a new cycle of challenges. On the battlefield, decisions were made in seconds, and one mistake could cost dozens of lives. Now, bravery alone was not enough. Strategy was essential. Practical training in the handling of formations and the experience gained made these leaders capable of commanding. But the transition was often marked by deep dilemmas. Many leaders had to find a balance between maintaining strict discipline and gaining the trust of their subordinates, something that wasn't always an easy task. A notable example was Lucius Cornelius, a centurion who faced the challenge of leading a detachment in extreme weather conditions during a campaign in northern Britain. Facing hunger, cold, and internal rebellions, he managed to unite his men, inspiring them to build improvised fortifications and establish supply lines in hostile terrain. Cornelius not only survived the siege, but ensured victory. His leadership was a direct reflection of what he had learned as a legionary, surviving the chaos and transforming it into order, even in the most adverse conditions. This new position brought complex responsibilities. Centurions were the pillars of the legions, responsible for training recruits and maintaining unit cohesion. But they also had to deal with the human needs of their men. Often, difficult decisions had to be made for the collective good, even if it meant sacrificing the well-being of a few individuals. These emerging leaders learned that the battlefield was just one part of the war. preparation and maintaining morale were equally crucial. This combination of practical skills and strategic vision was what separated great leaders from those who succumbed to pressure. At the same time, these centurions began to understand that military power was deeply intertwined with the political landscape of Rome. Many of them were called upon for missions that went beyond combat, such as negotiating with local tribes or representing Roman interests in border regions. This contact with the political side of the empire revealed new ambitions for some, while for others, it was just another battle, now fought in diplomatic arenas. This interaction between the battlefield and political strategy shaped well-rounded leaders, capable of influencing both war and peace. With this came new opportunities, but also unexpected dangers. While some centurions managed to rise even further, others were swallowed up by a whirlwind of intrigues and rivalries that pervaded military command. Leadership brought prestige, but also a growing vulnerability to unseen enemies in the battlefield, ambition and betrayal. Gaining trust on the battlefield was only the beginning of the rise. When a legionary reached the highest levels of command, they faced even more treacherous challenges: political intrigues and power games. Rome was an empire forged as much by the strength of swords as by the subtlety of words, and any significant leadership had to survive both. Many centurions promoted to higher ranks faced internal rivalries, unfounded accusations, and in some cases, deadly betrayals that sealed their fates before they could ever reach their full potential. One of the most intriguing cases was that of Tiberius Claudius, a centurion who successfully led a campaign in Germania only to return to Rome and face charges of conspiracy against the Senate. Despite his innocence, the forged evidence by political rivals was so convincing that Tiberius was executed. This story not only highlighted the dangers of rising in the Roman hierarchy, but also showed how the line between glory and ruin was incredibly thin for military leaders. On the other hand, there were those who mastered the political game and consolidated their power. Strategic alliances were a powerful weapon, and some centurions used their connections in the Senate or in influential circles to ensure security and expand their careers. Additionally, the ability to read the political climate of Rome was just as important as the ability to lead men on the battlefield. Those who could balance these two spheres often reached positions like military tribunes or, in rare cases, the status of supreme commanders. However, the price of power was high. The pressure to maintain one's position required constant sacrifices, and many leaders found themselves isolated, even distrusting their closest allies. This dynamic made command not only a privilege, but a burden that few could carry for long. The stories of leaders who were lost in political intrigue serve as grim reminders that in the Roman Empire, power could be as dangerous as the fiercest enemies on the battlefield. Amidst this, there were mysteries that still intrigue modern scholars. A striking example was Quintus Flavius, whose meteoric rise took him from legionary to commander of one of the largest legions in the empire. However, his trajectory ended abruptly when he disappeared during a diplomatic mission in Parthia, leaving no trace. His story encapsulates the tension between ambition and fragility, a defining feature of both military and political power in ancient Rome. Now that you've learned about the intrigues and challenges legionaries faced while rising through the ranks of Rome, imagine how an ordinary man can defy fate and claim his glory. If you were fascinated by these stories of ascension and power, don't miss the epic journey of Spurius Ligustinus, the most decorated soldier of the Roman Empire. Discover how he overcame relentless enemies and became a legend. Click here to see how Spurius's determination and spirit turned battle into victory and secured his place in history.